We are here in Ealing, West London, where we've got a very, very quirky development. We've taken this project on after planning approval has been approved. We've taken it through to technical detailing, and there are a lot of technical issues to discuss in this episode. So we've taken what was a commercial unit on the ground floor with a Tesco's, what was originally 4 residential units on the uppers. We've changed those 4 units into 9 units. We've got this terrace, which all of the properties access out of. So this is the only means of escape. So from a fire perspective, it is very, very challenging. We've got issues with acoustics where a flight path from Heathrow is directly above us. We've got a main road right outside. This episode is going to be full of technical knowledge that hopefully doesn't confuse you too much. I will try and explain things as best as I can. We're going to look at a 1-bed, a staged 2-bed, and a 3-bed. So let's go and have a look. So this is one of the 1-beds, and as I come in here, you are basically welcomed by one of the biggest roof lights I've ever seen in my life. So this unit is very bright. We've got kitchen, dining, living space where I'm standing now, a huge roof light above, sliding doors behind you, even a slot window on the side. So this is really nice and bright. It's a shame it's such a dull, dreary day outside. But in all of the units, these are for rental. So the developer has designed these specifically for the rental market. So utilizing things like LVT, which is luxury vinyl tile flooring. These things often have a 25-year lifespan, very easy to maintain. Got kitchens from Howdens, which again, very basic, but do the job for a rental property. Very sleek, very clean, works really well. And then we've also got from a heating perspective, this is quite interesting for the whole site. So all of the units achieve between a B and a C from an EPC perspective, which is your energy performance. They've achieved that with fully electric systems. There's no gas on the site, and we've got electric rads on the walls, but the water heating is via a air source water cylinder. I'll show you what that looks like later, so stay tuned, because they're quite a new technology and they are being used more and more in these types of flatted developments. So a lot of the units have access to a terrace, which is lovely. You know, most properties in London, if you can get private amenity, you're adding significant amounts of value with those. And a lot of these terraces are really generous sizes, so that's brilliant. Now, I mentioned before that we are on a busy road. This is actually the secondary sort of road. The main road is on that facade, but you can't actually hear anything, which is amazing. What we've had to do in these whole units is fix all of the windows shut. That's both from an air quality and a noise quality perspective. So we've got acoustic glazing on all of the external windows and doors, but because we cannot open any of the windows, we've had to install mechanical ventilation and heat recovery system. So that is things like this. This is the extract and intake in every room. We'll have one of these. So this circulates consistent fresh air. So from a rental perspective, these are brilliant because they reduce the chance of condensation, mold and damp buildup because you've got a constant flow of air changes. But because we've got the fixed windows, because acoustically we need to fix them shut, we also need to mechanically ventilate the spaces, and that's what these are for. Now, although I probably would have done something slightly different with the layout than the previous architect, we inherited these at planning stage, but what we really had to drill down to the detail of very, very quickly is this means of escape. Now, the original architect had timber fence panels, had vegetation, had planter boxes. That's all combustible. Now, this is the only escape route, so we've had to really go to detail with the fire engineer to make sure that everything designed in this route is Class O, so basically making sure that even the terrace screens, which were once sort of fence panels or timber, are actually a glass and a steel fabrication. At planning stage, these things weren't thought through. So we've had to really shoehorn things in where possible, check the technical detailing from a fire perspective, check the technical detailing from an acoustics and a ventilation perspective. And really, you know, this is almost a couple of projects in one in terms of the level of detail and technical understanding that we've had to have to make this a compliant building regulation compliant scheme. Welcome to the show flat. Now, whether you are selling your properties or renting your properties, I think it is always a great idea to furnish one of your properties. It helps people visualize living there. So again, whether you're selling it or renting it, people can actually visualize and are willing to put better offers forward because they can see themselves living in the space. So we've got a bedroom here, which is a really good sized double bedroom. Again, really no noise whatsoever, which is, you know, the road is super busy outside, but you can't hear a thing. Large bathroom, which is a really lovely size. Probably wouldn't have my bathroom or shower directly in front of the window, but again, when space is really tight, sometimes you have to compromise on those types of things. Good size, double again. This is the biggest bedroom. We've got plenty of windows here, which is great. I hope that the developers are going to be putting some blinds and curtains up because it's quite exposed at the moment. That will be part of the finishing touches, I'm sure. We've got storage cupboards either side, and I'll show you what's in this one shortly. And then you've got a decent size kitchen, dining, living space with access onto your private terrace to the left. So every unit has a utility cupboard like this, and in these utility cupboards we have some air source water cylinders. So the top half of these cylinders are the air source part. You've got a big extract vent and you've got a big intake vent, so it brings air in. It basically converts that air, compresses the air to generate heat, to then heat the water cylinder down below, and the extract then takes away the excess heat. We've got intakes like this, so this is the grills of the intakes, and then the extracts are just around the corner. So ideally you want them separated because you don't want the stuff that's trying to be removed from the property going back in and being reused. And the other thing I really want to talk about on this site is the acoustics. This separation between flats, so the floors in between flats have been acoustically treated with lots of insulation that stops airborne noise. And then you've also got things like resilient bars, acoustic plasterboarding that has also density and separation from the floors for impact noise treatment. So people stomping around upstairs with resilient bars and sort of sound deadening boards and overlay boards, that's going to dampen that impact noise as well. So this is what we've had to do in between the flats to stop transfer of noise between the two. One of the amazing ways of adding space and value to a development, certainly in London where space is really, really tight, is going up. And that's exactly what we've done here. We've added 2 extra units by increasing the roof space with a Mansard style extension. So we've taken it from effectively 3 stories to a 4th story, which is this, with the Mansard sloping roof and the dormers out the front. So this is one of the 1 bedrooms, and this is all new. So effectively this is kind of new build, whereas a lot of the existing properties when they've been converted are, effectively either change of use or, refurbishment conversion works. So I mentioned kit, I mentioned MEP. There is a lot of it in these units. This is the air source water cylinder, which I mentioned earlier, but what we've got over here, if you come a bit closer, is a massive MVHR unit. So this is the mechanical ventilation and heat recovery system. It is huge. It's a big volume of air that it's taking in and then pushing it around the flats to things like these, which are the outlets. But as you can see, to store and house all of this stuff, it takes up and occupies a lot of valuable floor space. Sometimes these MVHR units can be put in ceilings. We don't have the ceiling height in these flats to do that. So Aura Architecture and Interiors took this project on from stage 4. So it already had planning approval in place. The client wanted speed and didn't want to go back in for some rounds of improvements that we thought would have made these flats a lot better. So ultimately the layouts were fixed. We had fixed locations and sizes for M&E equipment, which means we really had to try and shoehorn the amount of kit that the mechanical and electrical consultant wanted into these types of spaces. From a technical perspective, the team in the office are fantastic at getting into this level of detail. From a construction perspective, we have huge amounts of experience within the office. If you want to work with an architect that doesn't necessarily need to take things from the very start, obviously we love to be in it from the start, and that's where I think we can add most value. But from a technical perspective, we are extremely competent in the REBA stage 4 and site oversight parts of the project.